bad parents? Good children. Author
Hossein Hilbert.
This story. Dwarf. Azam is a selfish woman who thinks she is the smartest person in the world, and she knows everything better than the others. She is always right, and if any mistake happens, it is certainly not her fault, but are the others who have made mistakes. Mohsen, Azam's husband, is a kind and hard-working man. Azam has him in the palm of her hand. Whatever Azam orders, he obeys without hesitation. He never complains about anything and does not have the courage to contradict his wife. When he gives his opinion on a case, which is actually very rare, Azam says in a mocking tone, "No one wanted your opinion." Monir, their daughter, has very little growth, and in the first grade of middle school, she has the height and stature of a first grader. Later, while her friends of the same age have to leave the house wearing Islamic headscarves and hijabs, she goes freely wherever she wants without a headscarf and hijab, without anyone calling her to account, because she looks like a child. During these years, friends, acquaintances, and relatives keep warning Azam, "Why don't you take your daughter to a doctor? She is much smaller than she should be at her age." Mohsen has a height of about 160 centimeters. Azam, who, with high-heeled shoes and hair down up, looks about 15 centimeters taller than him, answers each time with indescribable pride, "There is no need for a doctor, her father is a dwarf, she has become like her father." Finally, at a party, Mr. Ali, the father of one of her friends, who is a kind, friendly, and understanding man, advises Azam so much that she reluctantly agrees to take her daughter to a doctor. Mr. Ali recommends a doctor who specializes in endocrinology. After a few days, Azam calls Mr. Ali, and after greeting him, she immediately says in a plaintive tone, "Oh God, Mr. Ali, the doctor you recommended has a waiting time of 4 to 5 months. Through influence, Mr. Ali can get an appointment with the doctor's secretary for 2 weeks later. But only, on the condition that she sits in the waiting room, so that the doctor's secretary can send her and her daughter to the doctor at an appropriate time between 2 patients. Before the day of the doctor's visit arrives, Azam puts on airs several times and says with a contemptuous expression in front of various people, in a haughty tone, "I know that going to the doctor is a waste of time and money." Mohsen is a dwarf. Monir has also become a dwarf like her father. When a friend asks, why do you want to go to the doctor with her then? She replies, because Mr. Ali was adamant about it. The truth is, I was embarrassed to tell him no. After examining Monir, the doctor orders a series of tests. Azam says, "Doctor, this child has become a dwarf like her father." The doctor says calmly and fatherly, "Lady, do the tests I prescribed. When the results are ready, everything will be clear." Azam says, "Doctor, I don't think that these tests are useful." The doctor, gradually losing patience, replies in a reproachful tone, "Dear lady, if you know everything better, why did you bring your daughter to me?" On the next visit, Azam gives the doctor the results of the tests and is confident that the theory, her daughter is a dwarf, is confirmed. She sits in front of the doctor and stirs her eyes on him. The doctor glances fleetingly at the lab results, turns his gaze to Azam, and says in surprise, "Lady, your daughter has no growth hormone at all." Upon hearing this sudden and unexpected news, Azam feels terrible, as if the world has collapsed on her. She is close to unconsciousness, and can barely control herself and stay upright. The doctor regrets his frankness and says, "Dear lady, if I had known that you were going to be so upset, I would not have given you this news so frankly." After a few moments, Azam, who has mastered her nerves, asks helplessly, "Doctor, can you still do something?" The doctor answers calmly but reproachfully, "Lady, unfortunately you have lost a lot of valuable time. You should have seen a doctor much earlier instead of saying, 'My daughter has become a dwarf like her father.'" Azam asks anxiously, "Does this mean that nothing more can be done?" The doctor says, "Well, we must do whatever we can for the time we have left." After waiting a long time at the Red Crescent Pharmacy, Azam receives a small bill that she must pay before she can receive the medicine. As she goes to the cash register, she takes a look at the bill amount, and when she reaches the cash register, she hands the bill to the cashier and says with protest, "I have to pay 2,100 Tommen for a few ampoules." The cashier smiles and says, "Madam, I'm sorry, it's not 2,100 Tommen, it's 21,000 Tommen." Another new shock for Azam. Today was not a good day for her. With ampoules injected into her daughter every other day for 2 years, Monir grows at least enough to become a little girl, but not a dwarf. Addendum: this happened in 1996, and at that time 21,000 Tommen was a lot of money.